Alrighty. Hello. 3, 2, and 1.
1.
Cheers! We are here, Sorcerer Radio at srsounds.com. Welcome to another Disney Trip Tips Hour. I'm your host, Sandi Alexander. Welcome, one and all.
The hostess with the mostest.
Husband is back again. Michael,
how do you do?
You all know him. You all love him. Yes, how do? I do fine.
Pretty good, sure as you're born.
Sure,
That's the correct answer. So when someone asks you, how do you do?
Yeah.
You say, pretty good, sure as you're born.
I'm supposed to respond, pretty good, sure as you're born. Never heard of it.
Really?
Nope.
Huh.
Is that like an old English thing?
No, it's more of a Southern gentility thing.
Oh,
well
I am not Southern
people.
or genteel, I guess.
Yeah, well, you live in the
South.
So.
Yes, I do. Bum. Okay. Again, this Disney Trip Tips Hour. Welcome again, one and all, and thank you for joining us because we are going to be continuing our chats/investigations of past attractions. And it was a close race, people. We asked you to vote.
Not for me, it wasn't.
Well, it was. We asked you to vote on which attraction you wanted us to talk about this time. And it was close between the Haunted Mansion and Splash Mountain. And who won? Splash Mountain. Da-da-da. Yes, that was my little drum roll from you.
There you go.
Splash Mountain won.
Excellent.
So I know
I forget what are we calling this segment?
I forgot already.
We should call it Let Mr. Sandy Explain.
Oh, I'm going to get you a
Right,
teacher
Julia?
that says that. Mr. Sandy. Who said that to you? Well, let me think. Was it Kevin Anderson?
Negative.
No. Was it Nathan Morton?
Nope.
Was it Teresa?
It was, well, no, it wasn't
who was
Teresa. She was more worried about May Scotto last year.
Oh, she was. That's right, May Scotto. And I will say cheers to you,
It
Teresa.
was Julia McDermott.
Okay.
Who says, I like how Mr. Sandy explained about coasters. I did not know that, and it made so much sense to me.
And you keep calling him Mr. Sandy because that's the way we like it in the house here.
Is it?
Mr. Sandy. Okay, before we get to all that, the
Sure.
news that we want to talk about, the tickets are on sale now. It was mentioned, I believe, last week for the 2017 Not So Scary, Mickey's Not So Scary, and Very Merry Christmas events taking place again on select evenings. The prices for the Not So Scary will range from $74 to $115. For kids ages 3 to 9, it's $69 to $110. The highest price, I would love to go. The highest price is for October 31st because everybody wants to go, and that always sells out first.
I saw a rumor on, I think it was the Fun Zone, that the Dwarf Mine Ride is going to be closed during the Not So Scary Halloween party.
Oh, how can that be?
Yeah, I saw it was a rumor, and I think it was dispelled quickly.
Okay.
I think that they said it was going to be closed, and then they changed the dates.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of surprising that it needs to be refurbished so quickly. I mean, it's been open for what, 4 years now?
Yeah. No. 4 years too, right?
2 years.
2 years? Okay. Well, we'll say more than a year. But, yeah, I can't imagine them closing that so soon. But anyway, getting back to the party.
Especially not during a party. Like, that's the best time to go. That was I forget who was posting, who was complaining that it was going to be closed because that is those. If you don't go to the festivities, if you don't go see the parade, the special parade or the special fireworks, that is the time to get your ride on.
That's right.
Right? You can ride Space Mountain or Splash Mountain or Big Thunder Mountain Railroad as much as you want because there's less people in the park and
everybody's watching the parades.
Yeah, the little kids are watching the parade, so they're not all queued up. And so I'm sure there'll still be quite a line for the Dwarf Mine Ride, but you can still get on a lot quicker than you could any other time.
Okay, well, if you plan on going, again, prices range from $74 to $115. The price for attending on Halloween is up $5 from last year. For the first time, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party will be held on 2 dates in late August.
What?
Wow. Am I reading that correctly? For the first time, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party will be held on 2 dates in late August. It extends to November 1st. Prices for the Very Merry Christmas Party will range from $89 to $109. For kids ages 3 to 9, $84 to $104. The Christmas event runs on select evenings between November 9th, 8 days after the Not So Scary
And for the first time ever, they'll have one of those in July.
Oh, no. And December 21st, but that would be cool. They should have a Christmas event in July. The most expensive event nights are December 19th, 21st and 22nd. And remember, some discounts do exist for the annual pass holders and Florida residents. Both events will include the special holiday-related show, the parades, the fireworks. Not So Scary incorporates trick-or-treating throughout the park. And there are rules, again, for some of the costumes. If you plan on getting dressed up, just go to the Disney website to check that out. Better yet, go to srsounds.com, and the information is for you right there. There's another link that'll take you to the other link to check out all the other stuff that we were talking about. Okay, so srsounds.com for the updated information about the tickets for the 2017 editions of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party at the Magic Kingdom. All right, now, continuing again with our investigation and in-depth review of
this one's a big one.
Attractions. You know, you guys wanted Haunted Mansion because that has a lot of history.
That's a good one,
and
too.
Splash Mountain has a lot of history too. So Michael has delved deep. I have got some information.
Did the deep dive?
Yeah, about the how what we were talking about. My books that I have.
That was a pun.
About I totally see. I totally went over my head. I didn't even listen to it. How the
it's going to be a long one, so bear with us.
Oh God, please no puns, please. But how the ride colors, how the designs came to be. First of all, how was this ride even thought of? Do you have that information? Because I have that.
Oh, of course.
Okay, tell me.
Well, let's start
right.
with stats.
All right, start with stats.
We start with stats every time. So
here we go.
It is a Flume ride, duh, and it is in Disneyland, the Magic Kingdom, and Tokyo Disneyland. Mm-hmm. Excuse my emails.
As his computer.
That's right.
Makes an email sound.
Right.
Star Tours.
Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, Tokyo Disneyland. It first opened on 7/17/1989, the 34th birthday of Disneyland. Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. The reason for the ride was they needed an attraction to get people into Bear Country, which is now Critter Country. This is in Disneyland. Mm-hmm. And Tony Baxter was the Imagineer who had the idea of using Song of the South as the inspiration for the ride. And he worked with Bruce Gordon and John Stone. These are Imagineers, and they ironed out the what they called the Zip-A-Dee River Run, or yeah, something like that. And interestingly enough, they pitched it to Eisner, who was the king of Disney back then, and he wanted to put a mermaid in the ride to co-promote the hit movie Splash. Remember that?
Right,
with,
yeah.
Daryl Hannah and
Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Right. And the Imagineers talked him out of it.
Well, I'm glad.
Exactly.
There's no mermaid in Briar.
That's right.
What do you call Briar Patch?
And another quick note on the...
Tony Baxter, did it say exactly where he thought of this ride? Because I have that information.
Well, so he says...
And the year he thought of it?
1981? 1983.
He was sitting in traffic.
That is in contention even by him.
Oh, really?
He says that he might not have thought of it in traffic. He might have, but he certainly, as anybody in Anaheim knows, spent a lot of time in traffic. So he absolutely pondered and developed the idea maybe while in traffic.
Okay.
One of the
right?
inspirations, and I'm not sure whether this is true or not, but it gets mentioned, is Dick Nunis, the chairman of Walt Disney Attractions at the time. He's probably a show unto himself. If you look at this guy's bio, he was part of the Florida project and had a lot to do with a lot of people having a lot of fun over the years. Mm-hmm. But so he was really pushing for a Flume ride because they had one in all the other parks. And interestingly enough, when he was pushing for it, the Imagineers, he said, well, why is, Disneyland, he would say, why is Disneyland different because it doesn't have a Flume ride? They'd say, precisely, keep it different. Right?
Okay.
They didn't want a Flume ride to begin with. But everything kind of came together with this Song of the South idea and the Splash the movie that helped Eisner get on board and the idea itself, as anybody who's been on the ride knows, it's a keeper. It really worked out.
Right.
So
well, and then of course, I believe everyone is familiar with the story of the Song of the South and the movie with Brer Rabbit and the stories of Uncle Remus.
Sure.
Which I took a photo.
Do you want to go into that right now?
About a year ago of our local bookstore here, one of the old stores, and they had the book there. I still have this photo where it was the story of Uncle Remus and Brer Rabbit, and they had the photo of the gentleman telling the story to the little boy. And that song was a song that the song is popular, yes, as we all know. It gets stuck in your head when you're in the ride. But the movie itself was popular at one time, and then, of course, it was taken out. But
let's just dive into that.
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Song of the South, 1946, live action / animated film, so it was a little of both. It was based on the stories of Uncle Remus, adapted stories of the Reconstruction-era South told in the vernacular of ex-slaves as captured by Joel Chandler Harris. For the vehicle to tell the stories, and there's a lot of history about how Walt came to get the rights to it and dealing with the Harris family. They chose, once they had the rights, they chose to use the story of Johnny, a little boy whose parents are separated, and he goes to stay on his grandmother's plantation. And this is in Reconstruction South. And he takes comfort and learns to cope with the situation by listening to the stories of Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear as told to him by a plantation worker, Uncle Remus. It has never been released on U.S. and home video, which I found interesting. But it was released in 1946, 1956, 1972, 1973, 1980, and 1986 in theaters.
In theaters,
right?
Okay.
Which I feel like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like I saw it one of those times. I wouldn't have remembered 1972 or 73, but maybe in 1980 I went to see it.
No, I remember seeing it when I was a little girl. Now, as you had mentioned, there's no, as far as we know, there's never been any VHS of it.
No.
There's no DVD of it.
We do have a bootleg copy from Europe.
Okay. That someone gave you.
That's the DVD that I have.
Okay.
Right.
Should you even be mentioning that, Michael?
I'm sure the statute of limitations on that has long been gone.
Okay.
So it's a good movie. It has what people consider racist overtones because of the vernacular of the way it's written. It's written in, just the way caricature of African Americans.
Yes.
It's like the caricature speak of African Americans in the post-war era. So that's a touchy subject that we can deal with later. I'm just going with what the ride is based on.
Right.
It won Oscars for the best song, Zip-A-Dee and an honorary Academy Award for James Baskett, who played Uncle Remus.
Wow, I didn't know.
Right, and Walt was, just in my research, I found that Walt was very fond of him as an actor. And by the way, all these links will be in my show notes. He was very fond of him as an actor and held him under contract until his untimely death. He was only 44 when he died.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A complication of heart disease and diabetes.
Oh, my.
And so here's a Walt anecdote, which I know you'll love.
What?
On the final day of shooting, and this is from the IMDb of the movie. On the final day of shooting, animation director Wilfred Jackson discovered that the scene in which Uncle Remus sings Zip-A-Dee had not been properly blocked, so filmed. The actor hadn't been filmed who was going to interact with the animation.
Okay.
Right? And according to Jackson, quote, "We all sat there in a circle with dollars running out and no one came up with anything. Then Walt suggested that we shoot Baskett in close-up, cover the lights with cardboard, save for a sliver of blue sky behind his head, then remove the cardboard from the lights when he began singing so it would seem that he was entering a bright new world of animation." Like Walt's idea for Bambi on Ice in Bambi, 1942, it made for one of the most memorable scenes in the film.
I remember that now. I could picture that.
Yeah, where he's coming out of the darkness and into the animation, starting to sing Zip-A-Dee Doo-Dah. So the idea for how to film that was Walt's.
Wow.
Because this is 1946. He was still, really involved in the movie making, and they didn't have the parks yet.
Nope.
Right.
That was coming.
So there you go. There's your Song of the South. One other little bit of errata from the idea and the placement of the ride.
Okay.
So the place in Disneyland was called Bear Country, and it wasn't getting any visitors, and they needed something to get people back there.
Right.
And that's where the inspiration for this ride came from. So they did have the Bear Jamboree, and it was just not a hit in Disneyland as it is in Disney World. I mean, we see it when we go about as often as we go to the Hall of Presidents, right? It's not an every trip thing, but it's definitely an every other trip thing, right? Or if you're trying to get out of the hot sun, those two rides or those two attractions I consider about the same. I find them interesting, but it's not something I run to. It's just something that if I'm walking past it and I've got nothing better to do, of course I'm going to go see the Hall of Presidents. Of course I'm going to go see Country Bear Jamboree.
Right.
Because the animatronics in that one are really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was not a hit. And the part that I found a little bit of information that didn't jibe with itself was they say they're putting it in Bear Country. And Bear Country is, if you're looking at a map of Disneyland, it would be the top left.
Okay. You'll have to post that.
I will. Like I said, the link. So, but this is a 1962 map of Disneyland, right? So early on, 5 years in, and it is
7 years in, excuse me.
I'm sorry, 7 years in. Right. Very good. It has Bear Country where Frontierland is now. It says Bear Country is right where Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is today. And they have an Indian village and a fire dance circle where Splash Mountain ends up today.
Okay.
So where Critter Country is.
Wow, interesting.
So at some point, either this map's wrong or Bear Country moved from one side of the lake to the other side of the lake.
The bears move.
Right. Exactly.
The animatronics come alive at night.
That.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and there's a lot of animatronic talk too. Wow.
You will.
Oh my gosh.
Well, while you're talking about that, before you get into that,
Sure.
I just want to say one thing. As I said, from this book, John Hench, Designing Disney, one of the things about Disney in any attraction, we're going back and forth using the term ride and attraction. So, like the Hall of Presidents, that's an attraction.
Correct.
Okay? Splash Mountain, ride. All right.
Ride.
So how would you describe it? You would say this is a ride. So anyway, story, time, and space, always in the back of Disney's mind. Time is the essential element in the telling of stories, and that's what Disney was good at. In fact, they go on to say here that techniques adapt well to theme park design, and when guests are traveling in moving vehicles through a ride, such as Splash Mountain, the vehicles function like a camera, revealing a story sequentially. So when you say Splash Mountain does that, the vehicle's movement determines what guests will see and when they see it. So again, they go on to say all this other stuff about how the design came to be of this particular ride, but go on now saying how
okay, so this is
storyline, because it does. It follows the story of Brer Rabbit.
Well, yeah, we'll get into the walkthrough in a bit. I still have some errata left over, or some miscellany left over.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up before I forgot it.
Jack Spence on All Ears has a really good blog where he talks about some interesting things about the design. And one of the things he's talking about is where the animatronics came from for this. So this is a bit of a controversy on the web as well, but a lot of the animatronics for this ride can be traced right back to your favorite attraction,
Carousel of Progress.
Correct. Right.
Yes, it is my favorite.
There you go. So the Carousel of Progress, and I've looked this up, it used to live in, so first it was the New York World Fair, right? And then they moved it to Disneyland, and they put it right behind Mission to Mars.
Okay.
Your favorite topic from last week.
Yep.
And it stayed there until people stopped going, and then GE, I guess, was the sponsor, and they said, well, can you move it to Florida? Because people will be interested in it there, as the Florida project was coming to be. And so they said, okay, and they moved it to Florida, and they replaced it with something called America Sings. In the same theater in the round where the stage moves, but you sit in one spot.
Right.
Right. So it was called America Sings. You can look that up. It goes around and it's basically animatronics talking about the story of America, singing. And that was all where the Disneyland Innovations is today. So remember when we went there and we saw the Iron Man display?
Yes.
That's where that was.
Oh.
So Carousel of Progress used to live in that building.
But see, I wonder if they have like little plaques around that say "used to be."
Oh, there's always a hint.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say.
There's
that's
always
interesting. Not that
a hint.
we're going to be. We didn't think to look at it then, but that's interesting. All right, so go ahead.
Right. Okay. So there are varying. So Jack Spence on his blog says that Tony Baxter thought that, or not him and the Imagineers thought that when they were constructing the ride, let's not let these because the American Sings exhibition was also running down and they were going to replace it with something. Let's not waste these animatronics and let's incorporate them into Splash Mountain.
Okay.
You can read other accounts where Splash Mountain was way over budget, and they said, well, let's just use this stuff laying around.
Right.
And I guess the prime example in the blog I was talking about is the vultures as you're going up to go down at the final plunge.
Wait.
The vultures that sit over top of you.
Yes.
You can see them in the exact same headdress and costume as they are in America Sings.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like spot on. It's like no doubt that animatronic went from this ride to this ride.
Well, that's good.
Now,
they repurpose things.
Obviously, all that falls apart when they build it in Disney World and when they build it in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Right, because everything's new there. Mm-hmm. All right, so this is just a Disneyland conversation. So
Yeah.
I just thought that was it was interesting.
Yes.
It was.
I like the way they repurpose.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the controversy is, did they do it on purpose or did they do it because they were running out of money?
Well, remember at the beginning of everything, he was running out of money, and
Well, so this would have been in the mid
His brother
'80s.
helped
You know.
oh well, yeah. When,
Since it
this is
opened-
way
and-
way after Walt. So
One other little note: the opening was delayed by, I guess, about a year. I might have that wrong, but because the test ride got the executives way too wet.
oh, you're kidding? They couldn't take a little water.
It wasn't a little water.
Oh,
Apparently,
it was more.
it was Kali River Rapids. You're on the wrong side of the boat water.
Oh, that's where I usually sit.
Exactly.
That happened to me twice the last few times. Darn
Yeah,
it.
the idea of the ride is not to soak your underwear. It's to get you a little wet.
Oh, so you got a little wet underwear.
All right.
Well, speaking of that, did you know
ahead.
that, I think you probably are going to mention this, but the water, when you do go down or when that big wave comes up, it's a water cannon that does it. I didn't realize that. Like
No,
an
no, no, no,
idiot.
no.
I thought maybe, we go drop that 52-foot drop, and it's like, we made this big splash. It's a water cannon.
Yeah, it's way, way too high for that.
Yeah. I did not know that.
So you want to just go straight to the walkthrough from here?
Oh, well, wait a minute. As you are, I don't know if you talk about the loading into your boat where it talks about the flashing street lamp. It's flashing for a reason. While there could be some wonderful hidden magic, it's really just an indication to the attraction attendants that the boats are about to go into motion. So I always wonder that, because I think I may have mentioned it one time. Wow, why is that light blinking? Does anybody see that light's blinking for some reason? Why don't you change the light bulb or something? But that is the reason why the lantern is flashing, to make sure the attendants know that the boats are about to go into motion. And the same technique is also used in Toy Story Midnight. I can't even say it.
Toy Story Mania?
Stop. Toy Story
Story Mania.
Midway Mania. Okay? The lights are hidden inside the giant Tinker Toy wheels. So now I have to look at that next time we go in. That's another
Yeah, at some
attraction.
point in this series, we'll go into the reverse letters in the Country Bear Jamboree and other attractions.
Yeah.
Muppets 3D.
Right.
Have you where you look towards the back of the theater and there's that sign with backwards letters in it.
Well, it's got to flash forward.
What the heck does that even do? Right? It's animatronics.
Yeah.
It's
Okay, but go on
So
now.
there's
What are
a
we
reason for
talking
that.
about now? How everything
we're
is
off track.
everything is done. Right?
okay. Sure. So let's go with the walkthrough then.
Okay.
So it has an interesting queue, I think.
Well, I just talked about the street lantern. But
Right,
go
but
ahead.
not the street. That's the end of the queue. So let's do the Walt Disney World version is the one I'm going with here. The queue goes into Critter Country, like from outside the store, and there used to be fast passes right there, and now there's a little playground for the Munchkins, and it winds through basically Briar
Well, like a briar patch, but not really a briar patch.
Briar Country is what they called
Country,
it.
right.
So it's winding through Briar Country. And then personally, I would never wait in line there, right? Because that's just too long. That's because you climb all the stairs and then you go down the stairs. And wow, at that point, if I don't have a fast pass, I'm not getting on this ride. But lots of people do. I've seen it wind its way well outside
Right.
over and over and over again.
And on very hot days, but they have the fans blowing on you, which helps. But go ahead.
So, and then you climb the steps, right? And then there's this little balcony type place, and you look down on various assortments of not people, no, down in there's like a chandelier, and there's a bunch of stuff, and then anyway you go past that, and then you turn to the right, and now you're in a tunnel. It's like if it's the summertime, you're like,
Yeah.
Because all of a
Very
sudden there's a
cool.
little air condition hits you, and it's fantastic. And then you go past, there's a bunch of sound and shadow effects, right? So you see Brer Frog, I think, is there, and there's all kinds of, like somebody snoring. Oh, in the Disneyland one, the snoring bear is a throwback to the Country Bear Jamboree. So
Okay.
like we were talking about little hints that what used to be there before.
Right.
And if you go into Pooh's ride, it says the deed from Mr. Toad's there.
That's right.
Right, exactly. So that's in Disneyland and Splash Mountain. The bear snoring is a nod to what used to be there.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm
Sounds good.
sure Brer Bear is one of the bears. It has to be.
Probably.
Right? So anyway, and then you get in that tunnel and you go, and then you go downhill past the shadow effects, and then you get into the Flume queue, which is 2 or 3 wide. If you have a little kid, you can be 3 wide in Disney World and in Tokyo Disney, and in Disneyland, you're single file.
Right.
In the Flume, right? So I thought that was interesting. And then off we go. And this is an 11-minute ride, so bear with me.
Oh, gosh. Did you hear that, everybody? Take notes.
Exactly. So we enter Briar Country and we go to an incline immediately. So we're going up on a incline and on our log.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's a little dip and we're in the briar patch, and you can kind of see from the side if you're looking to your left, and then the thing goes to the right and you see your predecessor riders, the earlier riders, falling to their doom.
Yes.
and occasionally you can get sprayed by that.
Right.
By the water cannons you were just talking about as
Right.
you're going around this first turn. And then we go up again. We go under a walking bridge, and now we're on Chickadee Hill, which is where we discover that Brer Rabbit is out today. He's not in. His house is there, and he's gone adventuring or something.
Right.
A little country music comes up into the background, and in my perception, I don't see this when I'm looking at our films of it, but as I'm remembering going on the ride, it seems to pick up pace a little bit around this turn, and now you can see the top of Cinderella Castle,
Right.
as well as look down. Now you're looking down at Frontierland before you were looking across. So you've basically gone up one turn of spiral staircase. On water, obviously. And then we go under a walking bridge and our first descent. So and we're still out in the air. We're
Right.
still out in the open, and we take a descent. And this one, you might get your shoes wet if the splash gets just wrong.
Right.
Right. There's a tiny splash for that. And then we enter the mountain and meet some of the residents, and we start to hear the song, "How Do You Do?" And the song goes, "How do you do? Mighty fine greeting."
Right.
Fine
I'm going to let you sing. I'm sitting here enthralled.
Really?
Yes, I am.
But the answer is always, pretty good, sure as you're born.
Right. Okay.
So we'll play this in the background.
Okay. Who wrote that, by the way? The Sherman Brothers?
Sure, I didn't get that.
I'll have to look that up.
Right,
Okay.
that I didn't go that far, but I do have comments on the song.
Okay.
And then there's fishing birds, bullfrogs, and off to the right we see Brer Fox on top of Brer Bear's shoulders, and Brer Bear is holding a club. What are they after?
They are after Brer Rabbit.
Exactly. Our hero, Brer Rabbit, is looking on and smiling. It's him they're after, and they didn't get him this time.
Nope.
And now we go further into the neighborhood and meet some more happy critters. We see a porcupine, a bunny, and then off in the distance we see the shadows of the fox and bear chasing Brer Rabbit. Next we see that Brer Fox has caught something. It's his buddy Brer Bear. His buddy, he's set a rope trap and he's caught Brer Bear in the rope trap. So we go on and Brer
You can't even get your brairs right.
I can't get my Brer. On the left, Brer Rabbit is hopping away, and he's got a bindle over his shoulder.
Right.
More scenes of the country. There's a bullfrog resting on an alligator. We see houses. We see mailbox. And then we start to hear, coming up in the background, everybody's got a laughing place. It starts to fade in, just in the background. Now we see the bear's on Fox's shoulders, and he has his head deep into a tree, and there's a beehive right beside him.
Right.
We go to under a branch that has the words "To the Laughing Place" on it. And then we go into darkness, and fall.
You like to make everybody, especially when there's kids in the cars behind us, oh no!
It's the big one.
It's the big one.
That's right.
And it's this little drop, and of course,
well, there's a small splash
out
at the
of
end.
the kids.
That's
so.
right. We love to scare the children.
You love to scare the children. And the parents then look at us like, oh, did these two people have to ride in our same car?
Now,
can we stop here?
Overhead, there we have beehives and buzzing, swirling bees. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember
effect?
that.
That's a good one.
I like the little clothes when you'd see the little clothesline on the outside.
Right.
Remember?
Right, and then things don't seem to have gone well for Brer Bear. He in the tree. We see him with a beehive on his nose.
That's right.
And bees swirling around him. And Brer Rabbit. We see him next, and he thinks this is hilarious.
Yes,
he is on his back, laughing, going forward and backwards. But he's laughing too hard to notice that Brer Fox is right behind him.
Oh no!
And Brer Fox has a beehive in his hands, and he's going to get the rabbit with him. And then things speed up a little bit, and now we're in a cavern. We enter a cavern, and bullfrogs sit on rocks and lily pads while singing Laughing Place, and it gets kind of weird. Laughing Place changes from the normal song into a kind of a weird
macabre.
No, it's not macabre. It's kind of wacky at this point.
Oh wow, okay.
It gets kind of doing doing doing, and it's following those fountains that
that's right. It
spit
does
over top of you.
But you think you're always going to get wet.
Right, and then the dueling fountains are spitting waters over their heads. I always love that. A turtle is suspended on the water fountain and singing along. And then we come into a bunch of cauldrons that are spewing water into the air, and they're falling right back into it. And we see signs saying, watch out and danger are posted on stalagmites and pointing in the direction we're going. Then we see Brer Fox has caught Brer Rabbit. He's holding Brer Rabbit by the ears, and there's honey everywhere. Brer Rabbit, his body is in a beehive, and his little feet are sticking out, and it's very scary. And the fox is taunting Brer Rabbit, and he's saying, "I got you this time."
Right.
And we turn right and start to ascend. Then we go under the Laughing Place song turns into a dirge, and it's more ominous and it's scary, but it's this is actually called the Laughing Place Lament.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah.
Boy, this is interesting, Michael.
Right, and then we start to go up, and we go under the vultures we were talking about before.
Which they are mocking you as you go under them, right? Their eyes are looking down
well,
at you.
they're telling you about what's going to happen to Brer Rabbit, and in turn, you, because you're on the ride with him. And then up through the mountain we go. We start to hear Brer Rabbit begging not to be thrown in the briar patch. Brer Fox is, well, if you don't want to go in there, that's where I'm going to throw you, as we know the story leads to. And then we level out right as Cinderella Castle comes into view in the distance. And now we're almost at we're at eye level with it. And down.
Yep. Arms up. Everybody put your arms up now. Got my arms up for that 52-foot drop.
That's right. Into the briar patch. Splash. Now everything's wet. If you don't get wet on this part, you are lucky. Or you've brought a
poncho.
Right. Or you've brought a poncho.
Or you bought the towel as you got off in this gift shop like we did.
That's right. And then a bouncy harmonica ditty starts to fade in, and we turn right.
There's still a little drop, remember?
That's right. And we start to take assessment of how wet we are and how much we're going to pay for having this thrill. Because a lot of times it's December, and you're like, this was a mistake.
Yep. Shouldn't have gone.
That's right. Or it's in the middle of summer, and you're like, this is great.
Yep.
So we go through, and you were talking about the colors. I had a question about this. We go through a red canyon, which I would associate with like Utah, not Georgia.
Well, that's how they chose it. No, the dirt of Georgia is red. So that's how they came to have the colors of the briar patch. And as you say, this is not, we're not looking at mountains with Splash Mountain. You have to sort of put in your mind like, okay, well, this is the ground. We're looking at the ground. We're looking at maybe they're under the ground. That's
we're in the briar patch.
Right, you're in the briar patch. So that's why you see the reds and the different shading there because the story came out of the South. Well, you want the landscape of the South.
Okay, and then if you weren't wet, they put a waterfall on the right.
So you could still get wet. Remember I got yelled at with my umbrella?
That's right. You tried to put your umbrella up by the waterfall.
She said, close that umbrella.
Mom, please put away the umbrella. Oh, man, I get yelled at on that ride more than any.
Darn it. She called me.
Please put away the camera.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on.
Like what? It's not your camera, so if it gets wet, they don't have to pay for it, right?
Exactly.
So,
I mean, I kind of understand it on the drop, even though I've filmed it a bunch of times.
Right.
You don't want to see a camera coming past your head from somebody in front of you.
And we'll talk about that soon, also about how people get their poses ready, because you are an excellent one for that.
I am, yes.
You are the king.
No, I am not.
You know where to find the camera. That's what gets me.
Yeah, I
We'll
do
talk
find the
about
camera.
that,
I
okay?
do know exactly where the
All
camera
right,
is.
finish up.
In Disneyland, it's on the, or Disney World, it's on the right, just as you're going down, about halfway. Okay, and then we, where was I? And then, the waterfall splashes us, and then we have one more quick little drop. Whoa! And we start to go back into the mountain, and we find a paddle boat where a bird ensemble is singing Zip-A-Dee River to us.
Yes, that's so cute. And
Singing it to us,
infectious.
and if we're lucky, a train as well.
Right. And then hopefully all the other little boats have gone ahead of you enough where you don't go in and you hit the other boats and everybody
that
goes,
doesn't happen in this part.
"Whoa."
That happens before this and after this.
Okay.
But when you're in the canyon, you're kind of, you're either alone, but you're moving along.
Right.
And that was one of the ones we forgot about last week when we were talking about rides intertwining with other rides. So the Walt Disney World Railroad goes into Splash Mountain.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you did.
No, I did.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Have you ridden the Walt Disney World Railroad?
Yes, I've ridden it. You're right. It does.
You can see the Zip-A-Dee River
You
boat.
You are right. You're right. You're right. And I remember
right.
seeing it. You are right. How could I forget
it's
that?
one of the later ones where they were still incorporating bits into which is kind of a
correct,
cool
sir.
thing, right?
Wow, that's very cool.
I don't know of any other parks that do that.
Well, I'm sure a lot of
That's
other
why I was
parks.
saying. So, and I've never heard it while I'm on the train, but you can see it. So it's
I
really
think it's cool
neat.
just seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, where was I? So the paddle bird, then they're singing Zip-A-Dee Doo-Dah, and then we take a left and we see Brer Fox stuck outside the briar patch. He's standing on Brer Bear, and an alligator has his tail,
That's
literally.
right.
And Brer Bear is trying to get into the briars again himself, because now they've lost Brer Rabbit. He's gotten away. They threw him in the briar patch. They made a huge mistake.
Don't throw me in that briar patch.
That's exactly what he wanted. And then we turn around another bend on the left, and we see Brer Rabbit relaxing at home. He's got his bindle by his side, and he's singing along and letting us know that everything is satisfactual.
That's right. It's a Zip-A-Dee Doo-Dah day.
Right
Michael, that was
on.
good. All that stuff you
Thank you.
not taught us, but enlightened us
Just
about.
walked through.
Now, also at the top of Splash Mountain is the Sorcerer's Hat.
That's funny. That's my first note.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Okay, I remember when we were first going and we were doing the Hidden Mickey things that everyone mentioned that the mountain was shaped like Mickey's sorcerer hat, if you catch it from the right direction. And I could swear I've seen it.
Well, I remember going, I don't say it. I just don't say it. And I was like, oh, yeah.
In my searching for it, I cannot find any references to it. And I mean, it was only this week, because we only just found out we were doing Splash Mountain.
Right.
But I was never able to find whether that's intentional or just just something that us Disney fans saw and said, oh, that's obviously the sorcerer
Yeah, but
hat.
it kind of looks like it.
I agree.
I think
But I
so.
cannot find out whether that was intentional or not.
Oh, all right. All right. Maybe somebody said, let's just shape that into the hat. And then, as we mentioned, the camera, you said now at Disney World, the cameras, as you are getting ready to get your photo taken before your drop, it's on the left, right?
It's on the left.
It's on the left,
About a third of the way down.
And Disneyland, it's on the...
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. I thought maybe that was on the right or
I
something.
find them when I find them.
He always finds them. I'm like, and he's looking right at the camera doing like a finger point or
I
something.
love the finger point.
So,
Right on.
okay. What else?
That's one of the. Let's see. So we talked about Splash Mountain, Tokyo Disneyland. Splash Mountain has a 2-story restaurant in the middle of it.
Oh, is it all
It is Splash Mountain themed. Yes.
Oh, wow. I bet that's cool.
Yes.
Interesting. I would never would have thought it.
Yeah,
thought
you can find
that.
pictures of that. That was pretty cool.
Well, I have heard the Splash Mountain theme in, I guess, whatever Mandarin, Cantonese, whatever the
Oh, nice. Yeah.
the language would be for Tokyo, because there are several over there. But it's interesting to hear it because you hear the theme music, and every now and then you hear like a few American words.
Right.
But,
Yeah. Well, there's no Japanese translation for Zip-A-Dee Doo-Dah.
Right.
So.
Next.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then James and I counted. We had lunch at Pecos Bills one time, and we wondered how often do the logs go down the big flume, the big drop. And we sat there and we did a detailed study of it and came to the conclusion that 12 seconds.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
Every 12 seconds, when it's at full peak, because this was one of our Christmas trips, so it was quite busy. 12 seconds. Every 12 seconds, a log starts the drop.
That's still very quick to me.
Yeah, well, and that would be the 12 seconds is the one where, you catch up to somebody on the rise to the fall and then to the big drop, and I've been cued there before, and then you sit right under the vultures for whatever it takes for the one to get to the top, and then when it falls, then you're allowed to go
start your
up.
ascent. Right. Okay.
Right. So that would be that pace, but when it's not busy, it's obviously not as quick.
Or when it's very cold or chill in the air, it's not as busy. But then again, I have to say that one time we went at winter and it was cold, people were still riding it.
Oh, yeah.
I was bundled up with the sweater, the jacket, and the hood, and we still got a little wet, but you want to go on it. You're there to enjoy it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and it's between the ride itself, which is well done, and the animatronics, it basically puts everything that you go to Disney World for all together in one big package.
Right.
Right? And it might be the most thrilling ride they have, I guess, save for Space Mountain, which the dark is its big attraction. One quick story: the night of the 4-park triumph. Right?
Yes.
The night we did the four parks all in the same day. You and our daughter had gone home and left James and I at the Magic Kingdom. Right. And he wanted to do the Splash Mountain, which, okay, sure. We're here. It's like past midnight. And I'm there with, I guess he was 7 at the time.
That young, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was 2009-ish. Okay. And we went on it, and there was nobody in line. You just walked up the steps and all the way down. It was just he and I. And when we got to the part where they were loading, there were 2 college guys ahead of us. And it was just the 4 of us in the loading area. And the 2 college guys get in the front of the log, and then the cast member tries to get us to go in the middle. And I'm like, no way. They weren't acting drunk or anything, but they were having a little too much fun. Right. Right. So James and I got in the very back. Okay. Right. So there were 2 rows in between us. Right. Which is fine. Right. And then they were fine. They were being like college guys, picking at the ride, cussing a little bit, but nothing I couldn't steer James away from until we got to the cavern with the fountains, right, with the spitting fountains. These guys take their shirts off.
Oh, no.
Right. And I'm thinking, do I have to have this talk? Right?
Already with a 7-year-old.
Exactly.
Okay.
And James is looking at me like, what are they doing?
Aw.
Right?
You told me a little bit of that.
Exactly. And then so we just, what are you supposed to do? And like I point over, oh, look, Brer Fox has caught Brer Rabbit. Yeah. Let's just go up the thing. And then we go up, and at the very top, these 2 dunderheads stand up.
This was before the bar, right?
Right. There was no bar. Right.
Oh, wow.
They stood up and rode the thing down standing up.
Oh, my gosh. And you have that photo, don't you?
There's your picture proof right there.
Wow.
See,
and you 2 were just sitting there with your little arms up.
No, I'm pointing at the camera like I always do there.
Yep.
And James is having the time of his life. Of course we'll post it.
I don't know how they did that without falling out.
Yeah. I mean, it was just nuts. They must have braced their knees on the little bar.
Well, what about when they got down? Did anybody say anything to them? Or because they had to have been watching with the camera.
No, because look, we got the picture. So
I understand you got the photo, but anytime she told me to put my umbrella away, they're watching people on the way down.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what are you going to do once? Because they didn't do it until it was the tip.
Right.
So there was no way of them stopping the ride. They could not stop the log. The log is going down. And these guys stood up and woo-hoo.
It's amazing what people will do to capture a photo. And as you had mentioned, James had his new little thing of using a toothbrush in all the photos.
Got it right there.
Right.
There he is on Splash Mountain with a toothbrush.
Using his toothbrush.
And there's you're behind him.
And there I am with my arms up.
Yeah, you're having a good time. Alexa's not looking at anything. And she
looks bored.
And I'm doing bucktooth face.
Yes, you are. So It's everybody has their own different thing. You have to post all that at all of the pages. The Disney
Sure.
Trip Tips Facebook page,
Well,
Sorcerer Radio
I'll
Disney
post the
Fun
PDF,
Zone,
I
and
guess.
Sorcerer Radio pages, so everybody could read
I
it.
have to open a Facebook account for Mr. Sandi, I guess.
No, you don't have to open up a Facebook. See what you. Thank you, whomever did that. No, I will not be able to live that down. Okay, if you want to hear a replay of the show, Michael. By the way, that was very insightful and very good, honey. You really dove in deep to that.
Thank you.
Yes, and I just looked at a few pages on my books. Yeah, someone else did the work for me. Replay the show tonight, 8 p.m. on Sorcerer Radio. And we'll be back next week. Well, I think since Haunted Mansion was like in second place, we really ought to do Haunted Mansion next week.
Yeah, you can do the deep dive this time.
No, you do the deep dive. I am
but yes,
the one to talk about.
This could have easily been a two-parter. This could have easily been a 2-hour discussion because there's so much about Splash Mountain. And once you start looking at it, and then you get on the side of the history of Song of the South, also interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
There's just so much to look at. So
yeah,
I encourage you guys to look at the links, especially this 1962 Disneyland map. It's high def, so you can see what rides used to be there.
Well, I like that they did think to repurpose some of the animatronics because you have to wonder. Like you had said, a lot of things there are new animatronics and whatever new computer yada 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 that goes in all the design of attractions and rides, but something like this. As you said, not having enough money to do something, to redesign something, but repurposing. And it seems to have fit the motif of the ride. And
it's another one, like Space Mountain that we did last week, that holds up. As an attraction and as a thrill ride, it's still awesome. It's fun. It's fun. For whether you're 5 or whether you're 50, you can go on this ride and enjoy it. You can enjoy the artistry and the craftsmanship of the animatronics, as well as have that nice, great thrill at the end.
Yeah.
They nailed it.
52-foot drop.
Hats off.
They did. All right. Well, thank you again. And don't forget, like all the pages, the Disney Trip Tips Facebook page, the Sorcerer Radio page, and the Sorcerer Radio Disney Fun Zone. Let us know what you think of the show, too. We appreciate all of your thoughts and comments and ideas, too. Replay again tonight, 8 p.m. right here on Sorcerer Radio. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you very soon. Sorcerer Radio, srsounds.com. See ya.
Oh, bye. I don't